Think about how stupid people are for a minute. They think it'd be impossible for the government to intentionally control the climate. Yet those same people aggressively believe in climate change, a phenomenon where people are unintentionally controlling the climate through their activities.
They were influenced by this group pressure, and they didn't have the balls to say the true answer.
It's time for those with their sweaty fists inside the sock puppets, those hollow things we're expected to believe are running the show, to fish or cut bait. Either those puppeteers grow some and have their puppets mouth the words once and for all that we live now in a dictatorship where niceties like free speech, due process and equality before the law no longer apply.
That's what I understood. So that's what I'm saying. There's been plenty of lessons. I should have learned this, you see. But still, during the last 3 years, I was shocked. Which is sort of stupid, I think, you know. Why was I shocked about this?
It's long past time for the rest of us, those that care about free speech and presumption of innocence and the like, to talk loudly and honestly, without fear of consequences, about what matters to all of us. Because the truth is, we're talking loudly and honestly about less and less. We're not talking about hundreds of excess deaths every day, month after month, of people young and old, now sick and dying of all sorts, because too many people don't even want to think about what they know in their hearts.
Treading where mainstream media dares not or refuses. In the UK, 36,316 people died, more than we would expect. And for the United States, 147,000 excess deaths. And remember, this is in 2023.
So far, 11 countries launched a CBDC, while over 100 countries around the world are at various stages of piloting or development. From a global perspective, at the moment, 77 countries are researching CBDCs, which of course, researching means developing.
You got to pay attention to your states because the distractions we have in DC are taking you away from the WEF infiltration of your states.
And 40 countries have already piloted their versions of digital currencies issued by their central banks.
We've been talking a lot about feminization from different chemicals, including sunscreen chemicals, very common, including BPA and BPS and BPF and all these analogs, these different versions of BPA. But today I want to talk about phthalates, because as soon as companies move away from bisphenols in plastic, they move over to phthalates. Look on the bottom of your mayo jar. It'll say plastic number 1. It'll have a little recycling symbol. That's polyethylene terephthalate. We have phthalates in tons of our products. Liquids are worse because, of course, there's a little more leaching when there's a liquid. Oils are even worse because these chemicals love to leach into oils. They're very fatty, just like your hormones are fatty, and they disrupt your hormones, and that's a problem. But today we're going to talk about feminization.
We're not talking about how a so-called online safety bill has metastasized in Parliament. Legislation that empowers Ofcom and tech moguls to dictate what may or may not be posted online.
What is it about sound money that you think is so important to protect ordinary people against overreach of government or against loss of their financial freedom?
2 words. Lloydial title. Have you heard that before?
I have. Go ahead.
That is a very, very important concept and a phrase that most of us don't even know anymore. In fact, I don't even know how to spell it properly. So, in fact, even as I read, I never find that in there. You know, lloydial title means something that you own free and clear. There is no third-party risk at all. Land was supposed to be lloydial title in this country, and so was money, gold and silver. You owned it. No one could stake a claim on it, but that is certainly not true with the monetary supply. We're going to get back to gold and silver in a second here. Let me talk about the moral hazards we deal with in today's society now. Then again, you and I probably own homes, and we think we own them. We use the word own. We don't know the word lloydial, but we do know the word own, and we misuse the word own. We are leaseholders of the land because the government technically owns the land, and they will tax you every year on that land. If you don't pay the tax on that land, they will physically remove you from your property and give it to someone who will pay the taxes on your land. So lloydial title's gone for land. And this is an absolute travesty, and it's also morally wrong.
The authorities are willfully arming and encouraging the mob, and that always ends well, as history shows. So many enjoy the burning of a witch. They did in 17th century Salem, Massachusetts, and they do in 21st century Britain, as it turns out, as it always turns out.
And every time you look at a study relating to phthalates, you see the word ubiquitous, meaning these suckers are everywhere.
We're also not talking about an energy bill MPs passed this month by a huge majority that empowers the state to kick your door in if you're not obeying every diktat of the green agenda and net zero and the rest of the suicide note written on our behalf by the zealots pushing what I call the climate hoax.
So this first study I want to highlight just mentions the ubiquity of phthalates, of course, and cryptorchidism came up in our BPA conversation. It basically means your testes aren't descending properly. And then hypospadias, which is another genital defect. So right off the bat, we're seeing problems, testicular volume, lower testosterone, anal genital distance. That's feminization. So right off the bat, we're going to talk about feminization using actual scientific studies. Sometimes they don't use the word feminization because it's political. I'm not afraid to just use the word feminization. Let's call a spade a spade.
Legislation that imposes more severe penalties for lighting a wood-burning stove than for attacking a stranger in the street.
So you can't take a person that doesn't have phthalates and compare him to a person who does have phthalates because we all are getting exposed to phthalates. So that's a huge problem in research. And it's also unethical to dose people with phthalates because, of course, they cause feminization in male.
Our voices, used to tell the truth, are all any of us really has. More than anything else, these years just past have been about keeping us apart, driving division. Everywhere people meet was closed. People were frightened into their homes. Now the online world they chased us into turns out to be something else they feel the need to shut down. They didn't see that one coming, those stupid, clever people. But people talk and the truth will out. Here's the thing, this is a tipping point. Do we come together, every colour and creed, and share the truth and tell the stupid clever where to go? Or do we close our mouths forever and go home to be alone? I'm all for shouting now.
So the talking heads of the New World Order are telling us we are not free. But the system the talking heads are talking about is okay with the talking heads encouraging slaves to talk about their slavery as long as that's all it is. So to cut to the chase. The New World Order has a new technology where the pretense of freedom is no longer required to control slaves. So they are openly admitting the debt slave system they have been using is a fraud and as such will collapse. Now they have the CBDC debtors prison system. Ask yourself these questions. Could they have kept the old money printing system going forever? Are they destroying this system on purpose? Have they got a new system ready and waiting? Is it a coincidence? Now join the People's Anti-Establishment, Anti-Corruption Party revolution.